day, because The View is live. Hillary's blame game? She's breaking her silence on the reason she says she lost the election. But is she still missing the point? Plus, 20 years after her tragic loss, the bombshell new look at the passions, battles, and secrets of the last 100 days of Diana. And Dr. Drew Pinsky's taking you inside the growing opioid epidemic that's addicting America and causing over 90 overdoses every day. The House of Hot Topics is in session with Whoopi, Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, and Jedediah Bila. Now, let's get things started.
Clinton just made a rare post-election public appearance. She spoke with Christiane Amanpour at a Woman for Women international event and opened up about why she says she's not the president right now. Take a look.
I was on the way to winning until the combination of Jim Comey's letter on October 28th and Russian WikiLeaks raised doubts in the minds of people who were inclined to vote for me but got scared off. If the election had been on October 27th, I'd be your president. Did we make mistakes? Of course we did. Did I make mistakes? Oh my gosh, yes. I did win more than 3 million votes than my opponent. I'm now back to being an activist citizen and part of the resistance.
So does that cover some reasons as to why? Was she overlooking stuff, or?
This was the most unimpressed I've been with Hillary Clinton. Every time I see her do an interview, I'm waiting for a moment where she just doesn't blame anyone but herself and acknowledges why they lost. Why? The reason why she lost was that her foreign policy at the State Department was a disaster. Her intervention in Libya led to terrorist havens and the infiltration of ISIS. She lost because she picked a bad vice presidential candidate. She didn't do proper groundwork in states like Wisconsin, in states like Michigan, in states like Pennsylvania. She lied to people. She made the decision.
Don't bring up the lie. Please don't
about
bring up lying.
About having the server?
Don't bring up lying about people.
Okay, well, she did.
Yeah, let's not put lies in, because if we're going to compare.
But you, no, I'm not here to.
No,
I'm not here to compare one.
I can hear you on other stuff, but the lying I just can't handle. Wait, go ahead, babe. Did you?
Well, I was just no. I was going to let you finish if you had. But I tend to agree. I was a little shocked when I saw her say that at first, because I think there was a moment after the election when so many of us stopped after looking at those polls and the buildup, and we were like, what did we miss? In some ways, I think she might still be missing some of it. I think if she had said these both were a part of the problem, but that they missed.
She did.
She did, but after Christiane actually egged her, she said, do you take any responsibility for this?
Yeah.
And I found that the fact that out of the gates her answer was the Russian thing and Comey, because I think there were messaging problems. She wasn't on the ground. A lot of the people that spoke up.
She won 3 million more votes than Donald Trump did, so her message was out there. People wanted to vote for her, and the bottom line is, the FBI was investigating Trump's Russia ties, and since July, and they only mentioned that this March. Yet they mentioned it in October.
Sonny, I voted for her. I'm a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I was disappointed by the interview, because to me at this moment what she needed to say was, we missed the mark in a lot of ways. There were things we didn't hear, and it shows me in this interview she might still be missing.
I don't know that she missed the mark. I don't know that she missed the mark.
She also lost the election because the election isn't run by the popular vote. It's run by the Electoral College, and she's a seasoned politician. And she should know that those states that she skipped out on, those states that she didn't go to, that cost her the election. Oh, really? She sounds like she did it, because that's what cost her the election. There were people in the center of the country that felt ignored.
Was FBI Director Comey. What cost her the election, in my humble opinion, is Russia's hacking. And what cost her the election is, if you look at the stats, people, I agree with Van Jones in a sense. This was a white lash. There have been studies, 20% of people voted because of racism. And I think after 8 years of a black president, there was no way that this woman was going to win.
Who they elected twice. The country elected a black president twice because he was a good candidate. She was not a good candidate.
You know, she was not a good candidate. You know what? Here's the truth about her. My opinion, she would have made a great president. She was not a great candidate. I'll agree with you. But she would have been a great president. He was an interesting candidate and a lousy president.
He had a clear message.
You know what? Let's face it. Putin wanted to make America great again. Let's tell the truth.
She has been the most. She was the most qualified candidate for president that we've ever had.
But that's not what the debate is about.
She wasn't a good candidate. I think
that
it's
was not
ridiculous.
what people were voting. They weren't voting on qualifications, and that's very clear.
they
So
weren't.
Amanpour said the new guy would probably take to Twitter about all of the conversations they were having, which of course he did, tweeting that Comey was the best thing for her because he gave her a free pass for her bad deeds.
Oh,
that
please.
the Russia story was an excuse Democrats are using, and that he just ran a great campaign.
You know, can I just say that today I just read CNN is putting out that Comey is now saying, you might have just seen this, that if he hadn't put that information out about Hillary, he felt it would have been catastrophic. On the other hand, he didn't feel it would be catastrophic if he put out the fact that the Russia connection was under investigation also, which he did not. Now, you can't tell me that that was not a crucial point in why she
I
lost.
agree.
I think so what's your beef with her?
My beef with her is that there were a lot of reasons that she lost that have nothing to do with anyone else except for Hillary Clinton.
She said
and
that.
Yes. No, she didn't say that.
Did.
She reluctantly said that.
I screwed up.
She
said
very
it.
reluctantly
In her
said that.
first answer, she gave two reasons. She said, the reason I'm not president is because of Comey, because of Russia. And then Christiane Amanpour said, do you take any responsibility? I'm not saying she didn't take responsibility. I think this is multifaceted. And I don't think anyone can speak retroactively about what would have happened, but I think there were layers to this.
But
and
you
by
sound as
simplifying
though
that,
you're saying that if Christiane hadn't asked her that question, she wouldn't have admitted it.
No, I'm just saying don't give her credit for coming out of the gate saying, oh, it was me and it was these things. She said this and this, and if the election was on October 27th, I would be your president.
I think she's right.
I think she's right.
We agree.
Speaking of tweets,
That's the view.
Washington Post put tweets in perspective by reprinting
Oh, my God.
every single tweet in his first 100 days in the White House.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised they could fit it onto a page.
And all that, still all that does not make any sense. All of that writing makes no sense.
Well, we're not talking about whether it makes sense or not. We're just saying that he's so busy tweeting. You know, look, here's my take on all of this election stuff. We're never going to know why she lost or why he won because, don't clap, because the waters are so muddy between WikiLeaks and PookieLeaks and this one and this. It's too muddy to know really what the... Now, we can go to sound bites where people say, well, I just didn't like her as a candidate, or she didn't come and see me. But, you know, I don't know how much of that is true, but I do know that we'll never know now because it's so muddy and so disgusting. We've never seen an election like this. And so I don't think either side can really take a lot of solace because they won or lost. I think both sides should be really sort of questioning what the hell has gone on and how did we get here with this much Hazarai about Russia. I mean, can you imagine if this much Hazarai had happened?
What does Hazarai mean?
Mess. A mess of things.
Figure it out.
Yeah. In this case.
It's a Hazarai. I mean, it's just, it's like everything was, you know, a mess. It was a mess between Russia and WikiLeaks and Comey and Comey saying,
they stole it.
well, we don't know what happened. We don't know what happened.
I saw
but
it.
well, you saw Russia involved, but we will never know. Had they not been part of this, what the real outcome would have been. And that's the saddest part for our country. And that we as citizens will never know what really would have happened if we had actually just done the job we were supposed to do, which is vote.
And they're blaming her. They're blaming her for not having a message. She had a message. You know, his message was make America great. No, his message was blame the Mexicans. That was his message.
She didn't take that
I'll
message.
tell you what my message is.
Gotta go.
We'll be right back.
hot. Can you stand it? Well, this May, things are about to explode. Boom! Because everyone's coming and bringing their hot views.
You're not going to hear what we do anywhere else.
And think these political heavy hitters have nothing in common? Wrong! They're all hitting the table. The only place that hears all political views.
We talk about everything.
Oh, yeah. This May is sweet. We got Neon Dion and a billionaire co-hosting. This diva bringing down the house. And the biggest, funniest, most talked about celebs are coming to be heard. Told you things were hot.
Bam, drop the mic.
Because we're View strong all May long. It's The View on ABC. Later, an eye-opening look at the last 100 days of Diana. And Dr. Drew Pinsky on America's growing and deadly drug addiction.
Welcome back. Bill Maher has his own thoughts on why Democrats came up short and how Republicans tapped into what voters really wanted to hear. Take a look.
Ease up on the identity politics. They pulled off quite a neat trick in 2016. They made white people, who are still the majority in this country, feel like a minority, or at least enough of them to swing the election. So I think that's important, to make sure you look like you represent everybody, including the majority.
He blames identity politics. So the fact that the guy who got elected, that he started out with identity politics. He started his campaign off with identity politics. Maybe people felt like they were getting rained on. Maybe I'm crazy. But I guess he's saying Democrats spend too much time on movements like Black Lives Matter and transgender rights and not enough time talking to the white majority.
Well, I guess white people must have felt like, oh, now I know what they've been doing to black people all these years, you know?
No, if they felt that, things would be a lot
well,
different.
they didn't acknowledge that, but that's what was going on.
He's made
You know, it's like Gloria Steinem once said, I said to her one time, why are men so afraid of us? And she said, because they're afraid when we get into power, we're going to do to them what they did to us.
He's spoken. I don't think this clip is the. I know the clip that's starting the conversation, but he spoke once before where he had a really powerful clip where he started to talk about while Democrats and liberals were busy policing language and what pronoun to use, Republicans were taking over grassroots level government. And I thought there was a point to be had here, which is I think right now in this day and age, when you think of identity politics, you're talking about gender, you're talking about sexual identity, you're talking about race, you're talking about all of these hats. And I think the thing is when you answer or dissent against one of these, like a conversation about one of these, you're immediately dismissed as privileged or an ist, whatever ist.
When you do what?
When you dissent, when you bring up a point that might be counter to the point being brought up, a discussion, you're instantly dismissed as privileged and or an ist, whatever ist. Sexist, homophobic, you know, you get that label. And I think the problem there is there are people that would be allies to these causes if there was an inclusion.
That seat, which is going to happen again in 2018. Be aware.
Well, I think Whoopi, your point that you introed with, Donald Trump is not the best parallel to this because he too, I think, engaged in identity politics and doesn't get called on it enough.
Which is why people, when you come out the gate with "there's something wrong with you," that group goes, wait a minute. I need to protect myself because y'all don't get it. So I don't know much about what Bill is talking about because what I recognize is that, you know, I listened to how people treated the last president, who was inclusive and included lots of white people. He included everybody. He didn't talk race. But, you know, and so for that, we got reintroduced to the Klan and everybody else that sort of popped out. And I'm sorry, white people have always run the country. And when you say, hey, listen, this isn't working here or here, that's not setting you up to call you an ist. What gets people called ists is their response to things. If you're saying, you know, I don't like you because you're in this thing like Black Lives Matter, as opposed to, well, what exactly is it so I can understand it? And how come all these white people and Latino people and Greek people and all these people are part of Black Lives Matter? Right. This is an inclusion that people don't say, hey, there's a lot of people marching for this, we should pay attention. As opposed to, you know, oh, it's they're trying to mess up with the cop.
I think what he's trying to do actually is reform the Democratic Party over time. And what he's saying is that oftentimes, and I feel this as a female, when Democratic politicians talk to me as a woman and talk about women's issues, they talk about things related to my ovaries. And I always come back and I say, jobs and but they don't. But jobs and healthcare, those are women's issues too. And I think that's what's missing.
What do you think your ovaries are? That's part of women's.
But I think in this campaign in particular, because it was a woman president, you heard a lot of break the glass ceiling, vote for her because she's a woman.
What?
No, but that's but vote for her because she's the best candidate, woman or man.
Do you not know that we went through the same thing? We went through the same thing.
Can I clarify something real quickly? When we reduce, what I'm saying is I understand why there are politics and identifiable groups. I went to an all-women's college. It's because we couldn't go to other schools at the time when they were developed. I get that. People should build each other up and be in these groups. But when it's the only flag you fly, you're missing the uniting factor.
Except that when it's the only flag that's flown against you, like what I was going to say to you about identity politics, you know, people would walk up to people and say, you just voted for Barack Obama because you're black. Not because he was the best candidate, because you don't, people don't assume that we're smart enough to recognize the better candidate. People
said that to me about Hillary.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They said,
You know, because you know, excuse me one second, you know that you wouldn't have voted for Ben Carson.
No, I know that.
That's
exactly.
But it would be insulting.
But it is insulting.
It's insulting to speak to me as if I'm supposed to support the woman because she's a woman.
Nobody said
that is said all the time to me.
You may have heard that from people.
I heard that I betrayed my gender. No, I didn't. I stuck to my principles.
But
why not
and I didn't vote for
because she's a woman?
As you recall,
Why not vote for her because she's a woman?
Because I disagree with her on everything.
Would $5,000 change your vacation plans? One lucky home viewer is winning $5,000 this week. Visit our Facebook page by 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow to enter for your chance to win. And tune in Friday to see if you're the winner.
So welcome back. Enough about politics. You may be suffering from compulsive buying disorder.
Oh, no, here we go.
According to a clinical psychologist who reveals signs to look out for, like hiding purchases from your spouse, using multiple credit cards, and getting a thrill from buying stuff. I wonder if we know anyone who may be dealing with this at the table, maybe to my left, not to my right, but to my left. Now, some people to my left may have had this issue. I don't know anyone except the person to my left who may be dealing with something like this.
Exhibit A.
That's fabulous, though.
This is amazing.
That's fabulous, though, and I needed that. Look, I don't
Well, how
qualify.
come you didn't get one for this? This is the one that gets me. The one with her picture on the back.
I needed that, too, so that if I lost it, people would know it's mine.
Yeah, okay.
I don't qualify for a lot of the things on the list.
Here's the list.
Okay, hiding purchases from loved ones is yes.
I was going to say, you said that before.
Sorry, Manny. Compensating for negative feelings by buying things. No, buying things makes me feel good.
That's that.
Yeah, but
Is
are
that
you
true?
feeling bad and then you go out and buy something that makes you feel better?
No.
Okay.
I just like pretty things.
She feels good, now she feels better after she buys
Yeah.
something.
Trying to stop shopping but unable to. I've never tried to stop.
Why should you?
I've never tried to.
It's your money.
So,
right?
yeah.
You're spending your own money. You should be able to spend on what you want.
Breakdowns in relationships between friends and family. No, my friends shop with me.
Right.
Right? I tried to invite.
Sonny, are they complicit with your problem?
We were at Disney World. I was looking at the rides because we were at Disney World, and Sunny is shopping behind me.
She was arranging. Not only she couldn't shop from there, she was arranging for somebody here to shop.
Well, what I did was I hired a TaskRabbit to stand on the Kylie Jenner pop-up line.
Explain what
TaskRabbit is a wonderful app. And you can find someone to personally shop for you when you
do a task at
or do a
home.
task.
It's any kind of task.
fantastic.
Yeah. If you have to, you can't be at a place where you need to get something.
Yeah,
you can
it can
hire
change your life.
TaskRabbit to go
And so
do it.
my fabulous TaskRabbit was standing, I was on the Disney line, and she was standing on the Kylie Jenner pop-up lipstick line.
And we were getting live updates. Sunny would be like, "Oh my gosh, she has a great place in line. This is going to happen."
Something like? Do you think this is like one of those bougie things?
Yeah.
Is this a thing for? Is this a bougie thing?
Well,
yeah, I like to shop.
Right.
You know, I like to shop, but I can.
So
I can,
You know what I mean?
and I can now, and maybe that's part of it. I mean, everyone knows I grew up very poor.
Me too.
And I like nice stuff.
Well,
and now for
you girls
for
are
a change,
keeping-
I can buy things for myself and my family.
You guys are keeping the capitalist movement moving.
I am. I'm helping the economy.
Well, this is
What
this
about-
is not as bougie.
No, it's not as bougie.
No, but there's a
that's
store.
good.
There's a store I go to that I was told I can't mention, but it's a store we've all gone to, and when you go in, you spend a minimum of $100.
Right.
You go in
Okay.
for one thing.
Yeah.
And there might be circles
the
around
supermarket?
the logo.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
it's clean and organized, and you can get everything from duct tape to like shelf liners to baby socks. Like it.
But you also.
And it's nice.
Yeah, you love to do good stuff. We all like to do fun stuff for ourselves, and we kind of
like
we're
to
lucky.
shop, though.
But
We're
what
lucky.
else do you need to talk about,
You have
Sarah?
something.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's shopping for Mother's. That was the segue 3 times. Okay, if Mother's Day is stressing you out, Minted makes it easy with unique gifts from personalized stationery to elegant wall art created by emerging artists and designed for your mom's one-of-a-kind style. Thanks to Minted, members of our audience are getting a $200 gift card towards everything they have to offer.
You'll never look at the People's Princess the same way after you find out the secrets and scandals of the last 100 days of Diana next.
Believe it or not, it's been 20 years since the tragic loss of the People's Princess, who was once the most popular woman in the world. And a new special shows a side of her you haven't really seen before. Here to tell us all about the last 100 days of Diana, please welcome Martin Bashir. You know, Martin, I just want to start by saying I miss you on MSNBC. Just saying, all right?
Just a reminder, this is ABC.
I know, I
We're
know.
promoting this network.
I understand that. I'm going to get to that, but I
Thank
just
you.
want to say that anyway, because
Thank
they should
you.
never have fired you.
They didn't fire me, I resigned.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, we all-
Absolutely. Well,
yeah,
I made a mistake.
We all say that.
No, I made a
I'm kidding. Okay. All right.
What are we here to talk
No,
about?
we're here to talk about Princess Diana.
That's right.
Who, everyone loved her, you know. I can't
Sure.
believe it's 20 years. And, you know, it was a story that really, the world was captivated by her. But in this piece that you just did, you're only talking about the last 100 days. Why did you focus on that?
Well, it's interesting because her life transformed in 1996 when she became divorced.
Yeah.
So for the first time, she was an independent woman. She had a divorce settlement of about £17 million. And she had decided to remove a lot of the kind of royal protection that went with her. So she was finding her feet, she was becoming more of an independent woman, and she was experimenting in terms of relationships as well.
Yes.
And I think for the first time in her life, she was to some extent the woman that she wanted to be.
Yeah.
Someone who was engaged in projects
Finally.
that she was committed to.
Yeah.
So, for example, she was serving charities involving the landmines issue. She went to Angola. She went to former Yugoslavia. And she was doing things that gave her a real purpose. And that's what makes the end of this story so tragic.
And she had finally found someone that she was in love with, not Dodi, a Pakistani doctor.
Yeah, I mean, she'd met him 2 years earlier, and they had a secretive relationship
Yeah.
that nobody really knew about. And the problem was that many people, in talking about the relationship, have said, oh, well, the royal family wouldn't be able to tolerate him. But actually, it was his family,
Yeah.
a very traditional
Yeah, yeah.
Pakistani family, which couldn't tolerate the idea of being so much in the public eye. And the tension of that relationship is what spreads through the 100 days.
You actually have a lot of rare insight into the princess. I didn't know this, but you had the only extended interview with her back in 1995. And
that's right.
What are we going to learn this time around that we don't know already?
The program itself is laid out at 2 levels. There's a kind of forensic, detailed analysis of everything that happened in that last 100 days, much of which we really don't know about. Who she was talking to, where she was going. And it's punctuated in a way that makes all of those facts really live. But at the same time, the story also is about someone's emotional progression and how she's torn between this man that she wants to be with but can't commit to, and this guy who's chasing her that she's a bit unsure about. And that tension fills the whole of those 100 days. So in a way, it's not just the facts. We can identify with so much of that story. Right. And that was the amazing thing about the princess. She was an insider, but she was an outsider.
Yes, yeah,
simultaneously.
Right. That's true. That's very true.
And she gave voice to things that many of us have faced, like depression. My own wife had postnatal depression severely for 2.5 years. I hadn't heard people talking openly, and suddenly the princess starts talking about it. When she held a baby which had inherited HIV, again, it was a step towards the predicament of ordinary people, and it was very moving, but also...
And powerful, because it came from her.
Exactly. And her boys now, of course, in the last month, have been doing work for a mental health charity in the UK, again, articulating issues that many of us experience but find so hard to talk about.
And we have a sneak peek for everyone. Can you set it up very briefly so that we can...
Yeah, very briefly. This is a description of the kind of tension that's going on in those last 100 days in Diana's mind about this heart surgeon, Hasnat Khan.
I think Hasnat was very much in love with Diana, but had really reached the end of his tether, because Diana pushed him and pushed him and pushed him to go public and say, we're a couple. And he wouldn't. He didn't want to.
That must have been very painful, especially for somebody as emotionally immature as she was.
And it got to the point where it was an ultimatum from her. Either we go public or you know, this isn't going to happen, is it?
Wow. Very good. I love the first interview you did with her also. I could just watch. She hypnotizes you. She's a fantastic interview.
No, she was a wonderful person, and the tragedy of that story is that we'll never know what might have been, because she really had found her feet as a 37-year-old woman, and then her life was suddenly
tragic, like John Kennedy too, Jr. is one of those things that will never really leave our consciousness.
Absolutely.
So thanks so much to Martin Bashir. The Last 100 Days of Diana airs Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on ABC. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drew, and did you know, according to the CDC's most recent stats, more than 90 Americans die of opioid overdoses every day? I'm telling you what you need to know about our growing drug addiction problem up next.
So the ladies were talking about a throuple. Say it again, Wilkie.
A throuple. 3 folks, 1 relationship.
This doesn't sound like it's gonna work to me.
I think I could be a throuple. It'd be so fun. I want someone that enjoys the movies I want to see.
Those are called friends, Sarah.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping it real on The View. There's a growing drug epidemic in America that's not coming from the streets, but from medicine cabinets all over America. And here to tell us what every family needs to know about the alarming spike in opioid addiction, please welcome Dr. Drew Pensky. So you're here to talk about the opioid epidemic, and this is something that is actually very dear to me because my husband and I lost a good friend last fall.
I'm sorry.
A very, very special spirit in this world. But I want to break down first.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
And that really, to me, goes to the important issue here. There's so much stigma around opiate addiction. It can strike anybody. You've got to remember this. It takes our young people. It takes our best, our brightest. I gave a lecture just day before yesterday with Governor Christie in New Jersey. We were talking about it with the New Jersey Hospital Association, and he pointed out something I thought very astute. He said, look, he goes, there's this weird stigma that people think that if somebody chooses to use a drug, they get what they deserve. Did your friend get what he deserved?
Absolutely not. We were robbed of an amazing person.
That's right, and that's what people need to know about this epidemic. It is robbing us of people, and it's starting with my profession. That's one of the big problems. Is that I've sat here how many years saying, talking about this? I kept talking about a tsunami coming and watch out.
And here it is.
And here we are. We're in it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I've read a lot on this because, again, I'm trying to find my own answers. But can you explain to people what is included in opioids?
So opiate and opioids, right? And people need to be aware because they're undoubtedly sitting in your medicine cabinet. So it's the painkillers. So it's Vicodin, codeine, OxyContin, Percocet. Now we got fentanyl on board. And these things really should not be prescribed for more than about 2 weeks. After that, they're more risk than they're likely to do any benefit. And so really, if you're taking it longer, that beware. The other thing, there's a hidden epidemic in all this that we're not talking about, which is I'm certain this was your friend, and this was Prince, and this was, you know, really everybody that dies of a pharmaceutical drug right now, a painkiller, they have on board at the same time a anxiolytic medication, a benzodiazepine like Valium or Klonopin, something like that. That combination is lethal, and you need to know about it. Be careful if you're on that combination.
But what happens if you have chronic pain and you have it for more than a week? What are you supposed to do?
Joy, if this were good for chronic pain, do you think I'd be sitting here saying that we shouldn't be prescribing it? There is zero evidence that opioids are an effective treatment for chronic pain.
Yes, for only a short time.
For short time.
Right.
They cause
and then what? Then what do you do?
There's many different, depends on the source of the pain, but there's something called hyperalgesia that develops. They develop chronic withdrawal. The pain intensifies, so it works against the pain. And once somebody gets strung out, it's hard to convince them that that's the case.
But they get hooked on it for some reason.
Because
like
Rush
Limbaugh was on OxyContin.
There's a brain reaction, though. This isn't a choice. Like some people say, I would never get addicted because I'm not the addictive type. This taps in these, I think, you're the doctor here, but the chemicals tap into your brain and there's no choice
So it's not just about killing the pain. There's a high involved.
There can be a high. Like I'm genetically such that I don't like opiates, so I would not. There's a difference between liking and wanting in our brain systems. And addiction is about the wanting system. We activate and wanting and needing. And even when you don't like it anymore, you still want and need. And that's what opioids do. You can get strung out on opiates and not be an addict. There's such a thing now because there's so much opiates. We're seeing all kinds of dependencies on these drugs. But a lot of people are getting addicted and a lot of people are dying.
You mentioned Governor Christie before and the advisory role that he's going to be playing in combating this. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that's going to look like?
I don't know. I can tell you that speaking with him, there's a picture of the two of us together behind us here, sharing the podium with him, he's right in the zone I like. I mean, he's doing a ton of things in New Jersey that are very, and in the room, you'll appreciate this, Joy. In the room was Patrick Kennedy, and I've never seen two people further divided on the political spectrum agreeing 100% on the magnitude of the problem and what needs to be done.
But he's addicted to food. I don't know what he's doing in that position. Seriously.
There is a concern, though, that people have. I'll tell you that I hear from a lot of civil liberties.
I just like the fact that he was singing the tune that I thought was appropriate.
Well, the concern, though, from a civil liberties perspective, is that I initially, I read some of the proposals, and you just want to make sure. A lot of people want to make sure that there's not going to be some government intervention in doctor-patient relationships.
Well,
so is that something you're worried about?
Oh, I'm terribly worried about it. In fact, the reason we have the opiate epidemic is I wish Sonny were out here because the attorneys got involved in the prescribing of medication. They made pain the fifth vital signs, and they put doctors in prison. They called us recklessly negligent if we didn't treat pain adequately. That's what put the rocket fuel behind this epidemic. So it was meddling in the doctor-patient relationship that created. I'm not letting the pharmaceuticals off the hook, trust me, but people forget that piece. So yes, I'm very worried when people interfere with the doctor-patient relationship.
Why don't the doctors just prescribe 4 pills if that's what it is?
But that's what Governor Christie's put in place.
Oh, really?
A requirement that they cannot go for longer than 4 or 5 days. And I'm with you, though. It's a concern. And he said that.
You don't want government officials suddenly turning themselves, wearing doctor hats and saying, we can now decide what's best for the patient. I think that's what people are worried about.
Yeah, I'm worried about it, too. He got up at the podium and said, because can you imagine me? I'm a conservative. I don't want government involving themselves in something like this.
I don't know
but I've given but listen, he said I've given doctors years to fix this, and you're not, and we got to do something.
I hope that's how it plays out.
Hopefully there'll be time limit, but you know what government is. They don't time limit anything. It just keeps going.
But I think with the dangers of how quickly people become addicted to this, if doctors aren't jumping on and being really hesitant in these prescriptions and pharmaceutical companies aren't pushing them, someone's got to get involved because people are dying every day. Hundreds of people are dying.
While we do this show, 6 mothers will have to be told that their son or daughter has died of opiate addiction. While we're doing this show, 6, 90 a day. It's out of control. It's ridiculous. But I'll tell you what, it's really incumbent on all of us, my profession. Let's give it to us. Let's know about it. If you're educated about this, maybe you won't make that mistake
And
of
just
sliding
because
it
the doctor says you could take it doesn't mean you should take it.
Well,
And by the way, the rate of opioid, listen to this, the rate of opioid overdose deaths was lower in states that have legalized medical marijuana.
yes.
I think that was Whoopi.
But they're getting help somewhere else,
Yeah,
and they don't need this.
Yeah.
And yet medical marijuana, all the Republicans are all upset about
Not
it.
all Republicans,
No,
but
plenty.
I back.
Here's what I'll just tell you.
I'm
that
sure Christie is, believe me.
I would rather treat somebody on the pot than on Vicodin, and the pot's not killing anybody. That's
right.
for sure. But in my experience, they always go back to the opiates if they're really an addict. So it's only
I know, but
temporizing.
it's not a gateway drug, and I just read you the statistic.
Well, we'll continue to talk about this, but our thanks to Dr. Drew Pinsky, and we'll be right back. One thing I did hear from
They have way too much to talk about. That's the issue. So tomorrow, we're clearing the deck for an entire show of the hottest topics like only The View can do.
that is so exciting.
You know, so we're talking about being bougie. And being bougie is good, because life is short. If you can treat yourself well, shouldn't you?
You can be bad and bougie.
I didn't know it was a new song.
It's a new song.
It's been an old song of mine. But don't you think that you should treat yourself as well as you can?
Yeah, I do want
If you're
everybody.
able to.
I want everybody to be treated well too.
Well, but you also want to make sure that you treat yourself, because
Right,
most
yeah.
people forget to
Yeah.
treat
To do it.
themselves well. And whether you have money or don't have money, you can treat yourself well. You can do good stuff for yourself. But I think it's important. Like, this is important to me. Like, we're really thrilled that you're watching the show. We're thrilled that you came to see us live. We want each and every one of you to have a great day and take a little bit of time, not a lot of time, but a little bit of time to enjoy the view.